Hey, it's Bob Nagin, and in this episode of Real Retail TV, we're going to explore your ultimate superpower. So last week's episode of Real Retail TV, we explored change and the idea that if you want things to be different, you have to do things differently. If you want things to change, you have to change. You have to change the way that you do things. You have to change beliefs, perhaps. You need to perhaps change a situation. But I talked about Marshall Goldsmith and his quote, "What got you here won't get you there." So if you've built a business that is this, but you really want a business that is that, you have to change the things. You cannot continue to do the things that got you here to get you there. And man, oh man, I was so gratified. Whenever I get great feedback from an episode of Real Retail TV, I mean, it really makes me happy. And I got emails, several people posted in the comments, all with sort of the message of, I really needed that. I really needed that. I was stuck in a rut. So that came out on Sunday, and lo and behold, on Monday, I got a blog from my friend and mentor, Randy Gage. And Randy has had an absolutely enormous impact on me and Susan through the years. Just in July, we went to his highest level event, Tribal. I was in his mastermind for a year. We were in a mastermind together. He's a brilliant thinker. I think he's written 4 New York Times bestseller. I would encourage you to check him out, randygage.com. But anyway, so on Mondays, Randy has a blog called Monday Mojo. And I'll just read it to you because then we'll talk about it. So Monday Mojo, thank God it's Monday. Let's get after it. We seek greater goals and achievements because we love because we love the way attaining them makes us feel about ourselves. We love it when we develop more skills, when we cultivate maturity, and when we gain wisdom. That empowers you to set higher goals and bolder achievements, creating a virtuous cycle of spiritual growth. Just know that the person you become is not your superpower. It's the ultimate benefit. Your superpower is your willingness to change. So I'm saying your ultimate superpower is your willingness to change. So now that I'm talking about thought leaders who have affected the way that I think about things, let me tell you a story about Tony Robbins. I'm sure you all know who Tony Robbins is, but in the early 80s, in the early days of the Mackinac Kite Company, Tony Robbins was selling his Personal Power 30-day personal development program on infomercials, and I bought it. And I had the cassettes, and I listened to one a day, every day for 30 days. And it really had a huge impact on my life. It really did give me some personal power. But the thing that I still talk about and that I'm sharing with you here today is this idea of how to stretch your comfort zone, how to build yourself, how to become better. And so think of your current comfort zone as a circle. And think of every time you do something outside of your comfort zone, put an X outside that comfort zone, do that thing, and your comfort zone expands. So here's what's happening. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you are exhibiting courage. It takes courage to step out of your comfort zone. But here's the thing. Randy talks about a virtuous cycle. When you step out of your comfort zone, even if it's a small step, it gives you confidence. And that confidence starts to tie into that virtuous cycle. That virtuous cycle gives you momentum. So when we talk about the ultimate benefit is your confidence in yourself. Your confidence leads to a willingness to change. Courage leads to confidence. Confidence leads to momentum. Momentum leads to more courage, more confidence. So let's tie it back into last week's conversation. So if you want to build a better business, it was perhaps incomplete for me to just say change. I'm suggesting that when we talk about change, just recognize it doesn't have to be a huge change. You just have to have the courage to start. You just have to have the courage to take that first step. And that courage will give you confidence. And that confidence will give you momentum. And it will put you on a path to greater skills, to greater autonomy, to greater wisdom, to a more successful business, to better relationships, to better health. But it starts with that step, that one step, that decision to choose. So, who was it? Jocko Willink. Now I'm throwing out all the personal development people, but Jocko Willink, I was listening to a podcast from Tim Ferriss, and he was talking to Jocko Willink, and Jocko Willink says, "Do you want to be a winner?" And he says, "It's easy. Be a winner." You see, his contention is every decision you make every single day, every day, all day, you're making decisions. Just make good ones, small ones, empowering ones. You're going to pick up that candy bar? No, be a winner. Put it down. Pick up an apple. You're thinking about going to the gym? Just make the decision. Get in the car. Go. You want to start building a training program? You don't have to build the whole thing today. Start. Open that piece of paper and sketch it out. The point is we all make decisions. And when we make the choices, we get the confidence. So make small choices. Make choices that move you in the right direction. Choose to be a winner. Watch what it'll do for your life. So I apologize if I was kind of incomplete last week when I just said change. I think that today, with the help of Randy and Tony Robbins and Jocko Willink, that I hope that I've given you sort of a roadmap to get you to your ultimate superpower, which is your ability to choose to change. So, as I said last week, if you think this is airy-fairy, I don't like the personal development stuff, Bob, give me the tactics, put it down in the comments. I don't mind feedback that is negative, as long as it's respectful. If you like this, please put it in the feedback. But the most important thing that I hope comes from this for you is the recognition that you have the power, and your ultimate superpower is your ability to choose change. So I'm Bob Nagan. Hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you next week.